watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
All right, thank you for joining us on DC News Now. I'm Shanika Grimshaw. We have a bunch of stories to get to, but first we want to check in with meteorologist Jackie Layer with how it's going to be today. Jackie, I know it's going to be a warm one, warmer than yesterday.
Yeah, it will be. We're going to be tracking those high temperatures back in those low to mid 80s. However, we will see that hazy sunshine, though, sticking around through much of the day today. So you will notice that filtered look to the sky through your Tuesday afternoon and evening. We'll see those high temperatures, like I mentioned, low to mid 80s. Later on this evening, still looking like we'll see some hazy sunshine ahead of sunset. Sunset will be right around 8:30 this evening. It will be just before it at 8:29 in the district. Highs today, low to mid 80s, but we are going to continue to see warmer temperatures and also that humidity building back in as we look ahead towards the day tomorrow as well as Thursday. So tomorrow, though, could be close to our first 90-degree day, or we could reach it tomorrow afternoon. I think it really depends on how much of that haze does stick around tomorrow. It's still hot and humid out there Thursday, but I'll have more details on our next threat force from rain and thunderstorms coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Jackie, thank you. All right, DC News Now is your local election headquarters in Maryland. Today is a general special election day in Prince George's County. Now, there are two races in the special election, County Executive and District 5 Council. State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy is going against Jonathan White for the county executive race, and Shayla Adams Stafford is facing off against Fred Price Jr. for the District 5 Council seat. And polls are now open. They will close at 8 this evening. And on your screen, you can see there some of the places to vote. For a full list of the locations, just visit our website at dcnewsnow.com. And developing now, new details on the Boulder, Colorado attack that hurt 12 people. The accused attacker targeted a group of known as Run for Their Lives, and they've been advocating for the release of hostages in Gaza. That group also has a chapter here in Northern Virginia, and leaders there say they're concerned for their safety. They tell us they take a 1-mile walk weekly, raising posters of the remaining hostages to advocate for their release. The group tells us they're now taking extra precautions to stay safe.
We're now investigating whether we have a police escort or just make sure that we're notifying local law enforcement in advance of our walks and letting them know of the times and locations that we'll be walking.
Locations of the walks are private, only available to members of the group. And developing now, a person was shot and killed in Northeast DC. That was last night. It happened in Trinidad, just a few blocks from the Community Rec Center. MPD says the man was shot multiple times in the 1600 block of Trinidad Avenue. They do not have any suspect information at this time, but if you have any information, you're asked to call police. Also in DC, a man was injured after a shooting at the Waterfront Metro station. It happened yesterday afternoon. Police say the man was just grazed by the bullet. They say two people were shooting and a bystander was hit. Police caught one of the suspects, and this incident happening after an 18-year-old was shot at the same station last week. A new video this morning. A man near DuPont Circle Metro Station is seen ripping down multiple pride decorations. That was Monday night. It allegedly happened around the intersection of Connecticut Avenue and Q Street Northwest. That was around 7:30. The person who shared the video with us says he asked the man to stop. He says the man continued to rip down the decorations, and the person who took the video then contacted police. Happening this weekend, DuPont Circle will be closed to the public. This closure taking place as World Pride kicks off in the district. The National Park Service saying this decision was made after a pattern of destructive and disorderly behavior from previous Pride weekends. This includes a 2023 vandalism incident where $175,000 worth of damage was done to the DuPont Circle fountain. The closures will run from Thursday to Monday. And we're learning more about the D.C. Council's expected voting timeline for the mayor's budget proposal. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson says the council will vote on the fiscal year 2026 budget first on July 14th and then again on July 28th. Mendelson also says a hearing on the budget will take place June 18th. The council chair says the public will not have as much time to voice their input on the budget due to Mayor Bowser delaying her proposal by 2 months.
We are moving very quickly to go through the public hearing process. I do feel that it's been very unfair to the public that the way the delay in the budget has made it much more difficult for the public to participate in the process than is usually the case.
And Mendelson says some council members still have concerns about certain items in the mayor's budget, like the decision to scrap plans to publicly finance a new jail, and also the mayor's plans to fund the redevelopment of RFK Stadium as a new home for the Commanders with taxpayer dollars. We reached out to the mayor's office for comment on the timeline. All right, for most of us, crossing the street in the district means looking out for turning cars or bikes. But for the visually impaired, vibrations and alerts at crosswalks are how they know when it's safe to step off of the sidewalk.
Walk sign is on to cross M Street.
There's now a new class action lawsuit accusing the district of failing to do enough to keep everyone safe. DC News Now's Daniel Hamburg has more.
Walk sign is on to cross M Street.
What you're hearing is an accessible pedestrian signal, or APS. They help blind people like Kudsia Naki get around safely.
A lot of the times the APS are placed in the wrong place, or they're not working at all, or they're not there at all. And sometimes they're too quiet, so I can't hear them.
That's why she and 4 others are suing DC. There are visual pedestrian signals at more than 1,600 intersections, but Naki says only a fraction have accessible pedestrian signals.
We're trained to listen for parallel traffic and to listen to traffic patterns. That's kind of how we get around. But in DC, that can be extra challenging because of the complexities of the streets.
Take the intersection of 14th Street and New York Avenue Northwest. Most of the buttons are covered, and the one that isn't doesn't work.
Some of our plaintiffs have had really scary close calls where they've started to cross a street and somebody has had to pull them back.
Naki says often she'll choose a route that's all perpendicular streets. Easier to navigate, but costs her a time tax.
Sometimes those routes, avoiding the diagonal streets, avoiding the circles, can take me up to double as long to walk.
It's not just inconvenient, but her lawyer says violates federal and local law.
We hope that with this lawsuit, we can work together with the district to make sure that we have safe intersections for people who live here, people who travel here, people who visit here.
All right, that was Daniel Hamburg reporting there. All right, turning now to a D.C. teacher arrested and charged with possessing child pornography. The FBI says Devon Brown requested nude photos from a 15-year-old girl in Prince George's County, Maryland. We're sharing this photo of him because the FBI believes there may be more victims. They allege Brown paid the child and potentially others for nude photos and videos over Cash App. Court documents say Brown is a health teacher at Idea Public Charter School in Northeast D.C. He's also associated with the track club Project Impact Sports in D.C. and Maryland. If you or any children you know have any information about a possible crime related to this case, you are asked to reach out to the FBI. And 2 new cell phone policies for students in Northern Virginia, one in Fairfax County, the other from the governor. The new law Governor Glenn Youngkin just signed calls for a bell-to-bell policy restricting cell phone use during the entire school day. Meanwhile, the Fairfax County School Board guidelines says high school students can use their phones during lunch period. And school leaders say the language in their new regulations are aligned with the governor's policy.
It is not a ban because students are able to bring their phones into schools. They're just restricted from their usage.
Now, we reached out to the governor's office to clarify if the new law supersedes local regulations, and the press secretary says it's a bell-to-bell cell phone policy for all Virginia schools. Staying in Virginia, the Virginia Department of Transportation wants to add new express lanes onto the Capitol Beltway. They hope to expand I-495 lanes from Springfield, Virginia into Prince George's County, Maryland. FFXNow.com says a new study area spans 11 miles along the southern edge of I-495, and they plan on building 2 new express lanes in both directions and adding bicycle and pedestrian paths. VDOT is also holding public meetings on the expansion plan throughout this month, and there will be one at Oxon Hill High School in Maryland. That will be tomorrow. All right, switching gears now, let's talk about weather, getting a full check of your forecast with meteorologist Jackie Layer. Jackie, how is it going to look in for today and the rest of the week?
Yeah, I mean, out there today, we're talking about that hazy sunshine today because of that wildfire smoke. So heads up, that wildfire smoke from Canada drifting into our area, creating more of that filtered look to the sky. So that will continue not only today, but also overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So heads up, you'll likely notice that through the day today. Thankfully, air quality is still looking good to moderate today. Tomorrow, though, it could become unhealthy for sensitive groups, not only because of that haze, but also because we're tracking more of that humidity and more of that heat building back in tomorrow. But out there today, tracking that haze sticking around, and we'll see that sunset at 8:29 this evening, and temperatures highs today will be topping out low to mid 80s, but still hovering in the upper 70s by sunset this evening. Tomorrow will be hotter, high temperatures just shy of 90 degrees. Some areas could reach it, and if we do, that will be our first 90-degree day of the year. We'll be close to it also on Thursday, so either tomorrow or Thursday we could be reaching 90 degrees. So yeah, not only that, we're tracking that humidity building back in as well. So certainly a summery feel out there the next several days. Rain chances and thunderstorm chances really hold off till later in the day Friday, and we're looking still at those thunderstorm chances sticking around as we look ahead towards this upcoming weekend, mainly on Saturday. So with this frontal boundary off towards our north and west, it slowly moves its way closer towards our area over the next several days. Then as we look towards Friday morning, still much of that rainfall back out towards the west. That front tries to drift its way in later in the day Friday. So we're looking at scattered shower thunderstorm chances with that frontal boundary, mainly for our northernmost areas through Friday evening, and then Saturday, watching as that low pressure system back out towards our west advances right along that boundary, and that'll bring us more of that wet weather just in time for the start of this upcoming weekend. In terms of high temperatures, though, we round out the rest of this week with high temperatures on the hotter side, back in those upper 80s. So yes, a summery feel out there. Finally, it'd be above normal for this time of the year from Wednesday onwards. Today, we're right around normal for this time of the year. This upcoming weekend, we're also right around normal with those high temperatures, lower 80s. Heads up, scattered showers and storms out there Saturday, especially into the afternoon hours. I know we have the World Pride Parade coming up this weekend, so heads up, stay weather aware for that threat of thunderstorms. Spot shower or two Sunday, but I'm thinking that's early on in the morning, then we should dry things out. Low 80s to start off that next work week, and we're still looking at some thunderstorm chances to start off that next week.
All right, Jackie, thank you. Well, a familiar furry face has popped back up again, this time in Bethesda. Maryland's Department of Natural Resources says the same bear relocated from Langley Park on Memorial Day and made his way to Montgomery County. DC News Now's Randy Bass has more on the story.
These videos taken Saturday morning.
It's a bear. Like, Mom, there's a bear in the yard.
Capturing the wild sight neighbors woke up to here in Bethesda.
I was having my coffee up on the second floor and I heard the dogs going bananas. So I was like, oh, I figured it's a deer. So I look out on my balcony to see what the fuss is about, and it's a bear. Just a giant black bear walking through my yard.
Neighbor Natasha Elisa says she's lived here for about a year and hasn't seen anything quite like this.
Lots of the deer love to come right up to the fence, and we throw them some corn, squirrels, and the normal Maryland creatures, but no, not a bear.
The state's Department of Natural Resources confirming this four-legged forager is the same one who ended up in a tree in Langley Park back on Memorial Day, saying the state is tracking the young male bear's movements but doesn't have any plans to relocate him again. Natasha says this is an active, outdoorsy neighborhood.
Honestly, I'm a little annoyed by that because I know black bears aren't as aggressive, but still you've got small animals, children running around. Clearly they didn't take him far enough that a week later, he's right back here.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for you this morning on DC News Now. Be sure to stick around for more news and weather coming up on the news at noon.